Hello, everybody. My name is Eric Nurmi, and I have some information that can help you in your practice, your clinic, hospital, whatever it is, regarding the nervous system and massage for your patients, your clients, whoever you're seeing. The first study did was that that I looked into was on the effects of heat and massage application on the autonomic nervous system by Young Hee Lee, Bit Na Ri Park, and Sung Hoon Kim. The study took place in Korea in 2011, and it was done to measure the effects of heat and massage on the autonomic nervous system. The things they used to measure this were a cortisol reading, a norepinephrine reading, and variable heart rate testing. So the norepinephrine is your fight or flight chemical. When you're running, the adrenaline's high. That's linked to your adrenaline. Also see the norepinephrine go up. The cortisol is like your stress hormone. When you're feeling stressed out, your cortisol goes up. And the heart rate variability was used because heart rate variability is directly connected to the nervous system via the SA node, the sinoatrial node. The sinoatrial node gets feedback from the nervous system. It communicates to the heart whether it's time to get going faster or we can slow down now and you can pump less blood around the body. So, and you'll see that was used in the other studies as well. So over time, they did a baseline reading and they did another reading at 2 weeks and at 4 weeks. With the cortisol, they saw a considerable decrease at 2 weeks. At 4 weeks, they did see a decrease, but they did not think it was statistically significant. With the norepinephrine, they did consistently see a measurable drop from week to week at baseline 2 weeks and 4 weeks. And overall, they concluded that this was beneficial. Interestingly enough, the massage was not done by a human being. It was actually done by a machine they developed that hooked up to a massage table or a bed, and it would run back and forth between T9 and L3, stimulating the ganglia, and it gave everybody basically the same amount of heat, same amount of pressure, just went back and forth, massaging that one area. And 139 people ended up completing the study. Initially, 151 applied. Some were eliminated right away because they had different cardiac conditions like arrhythmias and such. They wanted this study to include just people with a standard functioning heart, so they didn't have to explain these differences and inconsistencies that would be caused by a heart that wasn't functioning correctly. And then there were 9 people that just dropped out at various times for their own reasons. So 139 people ended up finishing. Again, they did see that this was beneficial overall, but they also noted that this was a machine. A human massage therapist might have noticed some things and been able to do even more to get that person to relax than a machine would, because it's not observing anything other than just doing what it's supposed to do. The second study took place in a children's ICU unit in Canada. It was in Vancouver, British Columbia. This study was done by Ling Guan, Jean-Paul Collette, Natalia Yuskiv, Peter Skippin, Robin Brand, and Niyarjan Kisan. And that was a Canadian study, as I just mentioned. It was done in an ICU unit, and the children between ages 7 and 18. I know 18 is normally not considered a child. Maybe they were still in school. I'm not sure why they were in the study, but they were. And This study was done between the hours of 9 a.m. and 7 p.m. This was only done on children that were in stable condition with their parents' consent, of course. They were given 20 to 30-minute hand and foot massages, and this went on for 20 minutes. They would start with a baseline reading 5 minutes before the massage started, and they used EKG data to measure the heart rate variability. And then every 5 minutes throughout the massage, they would take the reading of the EKG and measure to see if they were seeing improvement. One thing they did notice is that when patients had a abnormally low baseline reading, it usually corresponded with a impaired nervous system. So they did also realize that yes, this is done in an emergency room type setting, in an ICU rather, and so things are going very fast paced. It's not a standard testing environment where it would be more standardized. So someone might get a massage at 10 a.m. one day, 2 p.m. another day, and so there was a lot of inconsistency because of the nature of an ICU. And so they realized though that even though they did see improvement, this does warrant further study in a more controlled environment. I believe they saw 104 children, and overall, yes, they did see improvement from these 20 to 30-minute hand and foot massages. The last group that was studied was seniors. The study was titled Massage Therapy Produces Short-Term Improvement in Balance, Neurological, and Cardiovascular Measures in Older Persons. It was done by Joelle Ellen, M. Stefan, PhD, ATC, CMT, Serene Yar, PhD, PT, Jack W. Berry, PhD. This study was primarily concerned around the fact that accidental falls, as far as accidents are concerned with seniors, are the number one cause of death in seniors in accident situations. It's usually falling is the biggest cause of death. So their concern was, if these seniors get massages on a regular basis, will that help their coordination, their balance? And so they were more concerned with that than the nervous system data, but they did a little bit with the nervous system, basically heart rate variability like the other two studies. And they did the same 60-minute massage. This happened, I believe, for 4 weeks, and this was done the exact same way, 60 minutes. And then there was one group that did not get the massage. The other group did. They had 19 men, 16 women, and they had one group that didn't get them, one group that did, but they didn't go into detail as how they split these men and women up. If it was, I imagine they put multiple genders in each group, but they didn't really detail how many men or women were in each group out of the total. They did notice that the group that did get the massages had consistently better improvement overall. And what they did for measuring their balance and coordination, they had like a machine they would stand on, and they can put their arms to rest on it, and they had electrodes placed on their legs to measure how much they were wavering when they were standing. They would have them do the test, both the people with and without the massages. They would stand on this machine that could measure their stability, and they had electrodes on their legs, and they would do one reading with both feet on the ground on the plate in the machine that they were standing on for a predetermined time, and then they would have them lift one leg and study the difference between each leg when one leg was lifted, when the other leg was lifted. And they measured the heart rate variability, which is where the nervous system data came from. Again, it was more um, improvements in balance they were concerned with, not as much the neurological data, but it was still there. It still showed improvement. And overall, they did realize that since this was a smaller study, more study probably needs to be done because they only had 19 men, 16 women. So that's not as many as the other studies had. I believe the Canadian study saw 104 children. So those other two studies are both considerably larger than this one. And so because of the sample size, this study can't really be considered 100% conclusive, but it's a step in the right direction. So how does this help you make money? Good question. So this research can be used to help you with your own patients. You can teach your employees to give massages at your hospitals, your clinics. You can teach the parents of children with neurological disabilities or other family members. They can give them massage. I, having epilepsy myself, know that whenever I would wake up from a seizure, I haven't had one in almost 13 years. Uh, my legs and arms would be like jelly. I could hardly move, and so if someone had been able to give my arms and legs a massage to get things flowing faster, maybe there would have been improvement. I don't know. Anyway, this is an opportunity to make a little income because you can offer this service to your clients. You could do a video, so you can maybe give the videos to your patients that are paying to see you at no cost, and then if people like from universities or massage therapy students would like to access this, they might be able to pay you a fee to access your video library. Um, Again, my name is Eric. I would be glad to answer any questions. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me, and have a great day.